It is a dreary Florida morning. I have my coffee and the comment. I think I have waited 3 years to show up on my page. So finally, let's talk about capitalism and communism. Even Rocky's excited about this one. All right, so I have forever said that the fatal flaw with both communism and capitalism that never gets talked about enough is that they share the same fatal flaw. The same thing that undid them both is human greed. So teaching capitalism, I love to use the reference of the game of Monopoly, because the game of Monopoly was designed with the intentional purpose of showing everybody the dangers of unfettered capitalism. And the reason that you don't know that is because it fell victim to unfettered capitalism, in that Hasbro stole the game from the lady who created it and changed it to glorify capitalist ventures instead of showing their, realities. Now, despite Hasbro's efforts, playing Monopoly still teaches you the lesson, because you all start the same at the beginning of the game, but by the end of the game, one person has all the money, one person has all the property, everybody else is just fighting to survive, except maybe the one asshole that has the railroads that can just survive into perpetuity but can't really expand their wealth in any way. And that is actually the American economy. You have money and property and assets all centralized in the hands of very few. You have a few people that are able to continuously survive, but they can't really move economically. And then you have a bunch of people who are just hoping to not land on something that bankrupts them, and a little bit thinking jail is a better option. And that sounds a lot like America if you think about it. But communism has the same flaw, because in theory, it's a wonderful idea for the government to manage all the resources and make sure everybody has what they need. La, 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 la. But if you haven't noticed, people that tend to, work in government don't exactly tend to be the most, morally centered people in the world. So if you are now a government that controls all of the resources and you get to decide how to dole out those resources, the likelihood of you doing it in a fair and compassionate way is low. See every country that has tried it ever. So if both of these systems are so inherently flawed, then why did we spend nearly 80 years fighting over which one was superior? Well, because we're stupid. But the real answer is that neither one of them are good, but a blend of the two probably works. And this is kind of how I teach it to the kids, right? America had unfettered capitalism through the 1920s. And did you see a lot of wealth and expansion and whatever? Yeah, sure. But you also saw it all collapse and fall apart just as quickly. We rise, we fall, we boom, we bust. That's kind of how an unchecked capitalist system works. And it's not really sustainable. Which is why FDR and then John Maynard Keynes in England in the years that followed developed the Keynesian economic model, wherein government intervention into the economy can stabilize things. So when I teach this to the kids, I say we basically took our capitalist economy and sprinkled some socialism on there, right? Here's a social program to help the elderly. Here's a social program to help families. Here's a social program to help young people, et cetera, et cetera. And then those free markets are free to grow and move and innovate while the basic needs of society are taken care of by the government, meant to take care of society. And when the Soviet Union collapsed, it was the same thing. Corrupt political officers had hoarded all the wealth. The country at large was falling apart. But when the Soviet Union disbanded, what they basically did was take their communist hellscape and sprinkle in some enterprise and allow businesses to start opening up and commercial properties to have private ownership and stuff. So they sprinkled some capitalism into their communism, and it stabilized their economy for a little while until Vladimir Putin came along, but that's a story for another day. The point being is that mixed economic models tends to be more sustainable, and this I actually bring into my classroom a little bit too, not the economics part of it, but the psychology behind it. Because there's educational theorists out there. There's Maslow, and we all know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, wherein you look at the needs for sustainability, for survival, and those need to be taken care of before you can get into the higher level thinking and teaching of students. Basically, you can't teach a kid how to read if the kid is too busy being distracted by hunger pains, right? So you take care of the basic needs of society, and everything else will come from there. Maslow before Bloom, if you will, right? But it's the same with society. If you take the burdens of just everyday survival away from your citizens, you open your citizens up to have more freedom to innovate, to explore their ideas, to explore their creativity, to develop new products, to develop new businesses, to innovate and make the economy grow faster and stronger. But if you are stifling that creativity by making people paycheck to paycheck, worried about a health crisis bankrupting them, wondering how they're going to afford groceries or healthcare or all of these things. You're stifling the creativity, therefore the innovation in your economy, the same way you would be doing if the government got to decide whether or not you were able to innovate or open a business. We have made people economically burdened the way the Soviet Union had made them like government burdened. Like the government wouldn't let Soviets be innovative, but the realities of our society don't let us do it either. We are as trapped in our capitalist system as the Soviets were in their communist system, as the Cubans were in their communist system. We don't have the freedom that we're supposed to have in a market economy because the market economy is set up in such a way that we're all just praying that our next roll of the dice puts us in jail or free parking. And with that, I will go drink my coffee. Have a wonderful day.